There are about 6 to 7 millions of Bitcoin that have their public key exposed, so they are potentially vulnerable to the quantum computer. The key finding, number one, was don't panic. We have a lot of time. We don't have to rush things. Really, quantum computers are nowhere close to be a thing. We have a lot of time. Don't worry, don't stress. And then there were key findings, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9. And then there was key finding number 10, which said panic. Bitcoin has bigger problems. Scaling, privacy, decentralization, quantum is a distraction. I'm just saying that the target, how powerful it needs to be, is actually changing, and the target is shrinking. We will be, ready for the...
Please put your hands together and welcome to the stage, Tomáš!
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the moon. Let me
Hello, everyone.
see what spring is like on...
My name is Tomáš Sušánka. I'm the CTO of Trezor, and I'm here to talk about quantum and Bitcoin. First of all, let me say I'm not here to spread any fear, uncertainty, or doubt. I'm here to lay out facts and reason why I do believe we should devote our time to the quantum threat. Before we do that, I want to take you back in 2018. I was pretty new at the company, at Trezor. I've joined just the previous year. And my colleagues took me to the CCC conference. Many of you probably know that. It's one of the biggest hacking conferences in the world. And in 2018, there has been this talk that was called the post-quantum cryptography, or the year in post-quantum cryptography. And the talk was, about what the threats are and how we can deal with them. And it was purely from the aspect of cryptography side of things, not related to Bitcoin. And they were citing this report from National Academy of Sciences. And this report summarized in 10 key findings. The key finding, number one, was don't panic. We have a lot of time. We don't have to rush things. Really, quantum computers are nowhere close to be a thing. We have a lot of time. Don't worry, don't stress. And then there were key findings, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9. And then there was key finding number 10, which said panic. Even though quantum computers are very far away, the potential impact of such a machine are enormous to cryptography. And I think this sums up the situation quite nicely. Quantum computers are nowhere near. They are very basic machines today. But the potential impact is indeed that it can break cryptography. And adopting new cryptography, new protocols, and do a development of these protocols takes a lot of time. So I want to build the case why I do believe we should make Bitcoin quantum resistant. So first of all, we are building. Yes, I admit, very, very slowly. In 2016, IBM introduced the first ever publicly available quantum computer, which had just 5 qubits, very little. 3 years ago, they actually crossed the threshold of 1,000 qubits, where they introduced a new quantum computer that had about 1,100 qubits. So you can see the progress is there. It's slow, but it's there. Secondly, we have more approaches than ever, and I think a lot of people are missing out this one. Usually, when people say quantum computer, they mean this chandelier hanging from the ceiling. But that's not the only way how we can build a quantum computer. There are more approaches to do so. So we do have the superconducting one, which is the first box. That's what was the majority approach as of today. Google is building one, IBM is building one. And that's the machine that we needs to be cooled down to absolute zero, so it's not exactly easy thing to build. But there are more ways to build a quantum computer. There is the trapped ion, photonic, and Microsoft has this Majorana quantum computer. What the heck that is, I'm still not sure. But there's also one more, the neutral atom quantum computer. So these are distinct ways how to build something that has these possibilities of a quantum computer. And the neutral atom is getting some traction. There is this company Atomic, and actually Google announced just this March that they plan to build a neutral atom quantum computer as well next to their superconducting one. So what I'm just trying to say here is that we don't have all the eggs in one basket. We do have more ways how to build something like a quantum computer. Next, the target is shrinking. We used to believe that we need millions of qubits to attack the cryptography that is behind Bitcoin. The estimates were somewhere around 8 million, 10 million, something like that. But this year, there were two papers that changed this narrative. So first of all, there is this paper from Google, where they claim that they need only 500,000 of qubits. And just a few days later, or around the same week, there was this paper from Atomic and Caltech, where they are describing that they believe they can use just as little as 10,000 qubits on a quantum computer that was built through the neutral atom approach. And the target is shrinking, right? I'm not saying here that the quantum computer is here. I'm just saying that the target, how powerful it needs to be, is actually changing, and the target is shrinking. In the second part, I want to also bring the arguments what the critics are saying, right? Because I think it's fair to also hear, of course, the counter-arguments. So a common one is today's quantum computers can't do a thing. The target is irrelevant. So I actually agree with the first one, with the first part. It is true, today's quantum computers really can't do much, and it's more of a academia research. But I don't agree with the second part. The target is relevant. If you are, learning a toddler to walk, it does matter whether, the goal is for the kid to walk 1 meter or 1 kilometer, right? Or 1 mile, if you are from the US. The target matters. It is important, and it is part of the story. Bitcoin has bigger problems. Scaling, privacy, decentralization, quantum is a distraction. Again, fair points. The quantum thread is not meant, to replace these problems. I don't believe, I do agree scaling or decentralization are potential problems in Bitcoin. But this doesn't, mean that the quantum problem would go away. The quantum thing is not here to replace the problems. It's here, to be added, unfortunately, to the list. We've only factored the number 15 or 21. It depends how you look at it. So this is a common argument that I've used myself quite often. And maybe just to explain, the quantum computers are they can endanger exactly this, right? They are able to factorize the numbers or solve the problems on the elliptic curves that normal computers cannot do. And sometimes this argument was used as an argument that they can't do anything and kind of are making a joke of the quantum computers. But the problem here is that number 15 is really just a special case. And we can build very basic quantum computer that can crack the number 15. I have an extra slide on this. I know it's not something you can actually read. I don't understand it either, so don't worry too much about that. But what I just want to show here is that on the left, you can see the quantum circuit for the quantum computer that is able to factor the number 15. On the right, you can see the same thing for number 21. And you actually cannot see it because that's kind of the joke, right? That the quantum computer that we need for 21 is way more complicated. It's way more complex. And in other words, the complexity just doesn't go linear. What I'm trying to say is that once we'll be able to factor number 21 or 35 or 105 or I don't know what, we will be most likely able to do way more because suddenly we'll have more universal quantum computer. These results where we were able to get the number 15 or 21 was done with the knowledge that we knew the result. So honestly, I don't think these are good arguments for neither of those sides, and I think we should look at it as we were not able to factor any number whatsoever. Post-quantum cryptography is unproven and more dangerous than the quantum computer itself. Again, great point. I actually agree that we need to be very, very careful here. Adopting new cryptography is always, something you need to do in a hazmat suit, so to speak. It's something that is very delicate, and you have to be really careful when you're working with that. Maybe this is an argument to use those hash-based post-quantum algorithms because they are believed, to be more secure. But again, this doesn't make the problem to go away. We will just blow the blockchain. Again, I agree with that one. The good news is here that we can, introduce post-quantum addresses to Bitcoin, and we can keep spending using the current cryptography. We can, use the current Schnorr signatures that we have. We can just keep it as it is, but these Bitcoin addresses will be ready to be also used with those post-quantum algorithms. There is a really good research from Blockstream on this, so it really, really makes sense. OK, now I know this has been a little bit technical, so if I lost half of you, that's OK. Now just give me five more minutes. I think the real argument here is that none of this matters. Like, all of this is irrelevant, the timelines and the pros and cons and the reasons and all that. The real argument here, I believe, is that if there is at least tiny chance that a quantum computer could be built, either in a year, in 10 years, or in 20 years, if there is just a little bit tiny chance, if there is a number one somewhere at the end, and I don't know if it's 1% chance or 0.00001 chance, I don't know. But I do believe there is number one somewhere at the end. And if you agree with me on that, I think that's enough why we should devote our time to the quantum threat. This is simply the case of the asymmetric risks, right? Low probability, but huge impact. I've asked AI to bring up a good analogy on this because, obviously, these days, each presentation needs to have a reference to AI. No one cares about Bitcoin anymore. And it actually came up with a good one. So, imagine you're sitting in your car, and I believe you're using seatbelts, right? Or at least I hope so. But when you sit in your car, you're not really contemplating what is the probability of you dying in a fatal crash, right? Is it 1%? Is it 0.001%? Is it 3%? The number is quite low in the Western world. But you don't really look at it that way, right? The potential impact is huge, and that's why you use your seatbelts. So what do I believe we should do next? So as I hinted, I believe we should focus on bringing the post-quantum cryptography into Bitcoin. We can do it by introducing new post-quantum addresses, which people can adopt. But they can still spend using the traditional signature, but we will be ready for the Q day, so to speak, for the day that quantum computers arrive. I have intentionally not touched on this topic, because honestly, it is a very difficult one, and of course, there are a lot of opinions on this. There are about 6 to 7 million of Bitcoin that have their public key exposed, so they are potentially vulnerable to the quantum computer. But I believe we should not spend too much time on this just now. Of course, it's an important part of the story, and we have to deal with it. But I also believe we should first focus on bringing the post-quantum addresses into Bitcoin and only deal with this later, because I don't want to get those two things mixed together, because then I'm really afraid that it would hold the progress of bringing the post-quantum addresses into Bitcoin. So I want to wrap up with a personal opinion of mine. I don't believe we're going to see a relevant quantum computer in 10 years. I cannot be certain, but the way I see it, I don't think it's going to happen in 10 years. But at the same time, I just don't think the probability is 0. And I think that there is just a very little tiny chance that it could happen. And that's why I think we should act. Not out of fear, but as a precaution. Thank you very much. I think it's going to be a ride, so don't forget to buckle up. Thank you.